Welcome to the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast, episode number 79. Hi, I'm Jill. Welcome. If you're new to the podcast, thank you for joining us.
I'm Chris, and I'm really excited about today's episode. We're going to talk about the best ways to get fit and strong.
Chris and I are the founders of the Becoming Ellie community. As the legend goes, Ellie was the Norse goddess of aging who beat Thor in a wrestling match. We decided to name our community after her because who doesn't want to be able to win a wrestling match?
Yes, you can find out more about the Becoming Ellie community and this podcast at our website, becomingellie.com. Ellie is spelled E-L-L-I.
Nia Shanks is our guest today. We were really excited that she agreed to talk with us, weren't we, Chris?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, we were. Or yes, we are.
Yes.
I've been following her online for some time now.
Same here. I think our listeners are going to enjoy hearing what she has to say. Let's go to the podcast.
Nia Shanks is a coach, writer, speaker, and author of Lift Like a Girl and the 100-Day Reclaim. She has a BS in Exercise Physiology from the University of Louisville. Nia specializes in helping women unleash their awesome with an empowering approach to health and fitness. Nia's philosophy revolves around strength training programs with a focus on getting stronger. She also stresses flexible, obsession-free nutrition principles. Through her popular blog and online coaching courses, Nia has helped thousands of women look beyond quick weight loss and discover the amazing body that they never knew they had.
Chris and I have followed Nia online for a while, and we were so excited when she agreed to talk with us today. If you're interested in strength training and being fit and strong, Nia is a great coach to follow. Welcome, Nia, to our podcast. It's great to have you join us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Well, perhaps our first question should be, what does it mean to lift like a girl?
Well, it's really just something that kind of came about over a decade ago when, growing up, we've all heard the term, if boys wanted to cut down other boys, say you throw like a girl or you run like a girl. And it was really just kind of taking that, what's meant to be a cut down and just making it something actually empowering and positive. And, just something that people seem to enjoy too, saying, yeah, I lift like a girl. What about it? It's a good thing. It's an awesome thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is. I remember many years ago being in the gym and a trainer saying to me something about doing a push-up, a girl push-up. And one of the other trainers in the gym turned to him and he said, "We don't call it that. That's a modified push-up."
Nice.
So I always sort of laugh over the doing a girl push-up. So as you know, our listeners are mainly women over 50 who are interested in being fit and strong. So does your advice for us change at all from what you tell younger women?
For the most part, I would say the vast majority of it is the exact same, because regardless of what age you are, whether you're in your 20s, 40s, 50s, 70s, I still encourage women to use strength training as an activity that makes them feel great about themselves, to use it as an opportunity to discover the incredible things their bodies can do. And they can do that with any kind of, exercise modality, with dumbbells or barbells, even cardio activities. There will be some variances as far as, how hard should you push? How much volume should you use? There are some things that somebody that's in their 70s that's just starting strength training, I would obviously have them do things a little different, take their time easing in more, start with much lighter loads just to get familiar with the exercises compared to somebody 20s or 30s. But for the most part, I think the goal should be the exact same, because something so many women can unfortunately relate to is a lot of us got into health and fitness because we wanted to lose weight or we wanted to look better. And so that's what we always equated fitness with, was I need to get a smaller number on the scale. I need to fit into this dress. I need to look better. But when you kind of turn all that on its head and you instead say, forget all that, I'm going to make my workouts about seeing what I'm capable of doing, seeing what I can achieve, pushing myself to discover what else I'm capable of doing. And that's something every woman I've worked with has been able to discover regardless of her age.
I like how you think about it as not just, I want to hit a number or whatever, but that there's that whole psychological thing to strength training.
Absolutely. And that's something that I do have clients that are in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. And they're some of my favorite ones to work with because a lot of them are saying, I want more out of fitness. I want to look good and I want to feel good about myself when I put on my clothes and stuff, but they want to be better at things that are important to them in their everyday lives. They want to be able to play with their children and their grandkids. They want to be able to try new and exciting hobbies or build up their endurance and strength so they can try something they've always wanted to try but were intimidated to do. And that's something that you can really discover and express with a good strength training program.
I know on your website, you say exercise is not a punishment and you do not have to earn your food. Does that mean that we shouldn't track how many calories we burn at the gym? Or can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so basically what that comes from is, again, so many women I've worked with, and even a period that I went through over a decade ago when I just got really wrapped up in disordered eating, obsessive eating, binge eating for about 3 years. And exercise to me was punishment. It was punishment for a binge. It was punishment for overindulging. It was punishment for missing a workout the previous day, to where it was no longer about a feel good or a self-care activity. It was punishment. I was bad. I screwed up. I have to punish myself with a harder, more intense workout. Same thing on the other side of that. People say, well, I really want to have some cake this weekend at that party I'm going to, so I have to really work hard. I have to earn the right to eat that food. And I think long term, that mindset surrounding food and our bodies just really creates more harm than good. Again, I know this from self-experience. It's echoed from a lot of the women I've worked with. And I really want people to break away from that mentality. It's not saying things should be a free-for-all, that eat whatever you want without regard. It's about developing a truly more healthy mindset and focus on these things and trying to strip them of the things that just break us down further.
Yeah. Now I understand what you mean about that. It's kind of like people use food to celebrate, or people use food to soothe their wounds or what have you. But it's the same with exercise. They use exercise to punish themselves. Is that?
Well, it's like I had a good time, so now I've got to kill myself in the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. People will use workouts for penance and as currency. I can eat this if I do this. If I eat this, I have to do that.
Yeah. I have heard people say that.
I hear people say, I'm not going to eat anything for a day so that I can have wine at the party or whatever.
Or try to burn all their calories from lunch in one workout.
Yeah. If someone starts to follow one of your programs, or really if they start to follow any strength training program, how long does it take for them to start seeing results?
I would say it depends on what you consider a result. And I'll tell people, work out with me once and I'll give you a result that same day, simply because, a lot of women, strength training can be something that's intimidating if it's something they've never done before, or if it's something they only did with really light dumbbells.
Right.
Walking up to a barbell and saying, I'm going to deadlift this can be extremely intimidating. But just getting in there, getting through that sticking point and just doing the activity and saying, I'm committed, I'm going to show up. It may not be the best workout ever. It may be a little clumsy, but I'm going to do it. And then if you just get over that barrier and prove to yourself, I can learn this. This is something I can do. I think that's a heck of a result, because you're in there empowering yourself and taking that first step that's going to help build momentum. Now, when most people think results, we think building some muscle, losing weight, whatever. That's going to vary from person to person, depends on their exercise history. It depends on their nutrition and all of that. But, realistically, I tell people stick with something for at least 6 to 8 weeks before you really start to kind of expect to see something visually. But again, I really encourage people to instead focus more on the workout to workout basis. Can you do an extra rep today than you did last time? Can you put more weight on the bar than you did last time? Those are results. And we get to experience those results on a much more frequent basis if that's what we choose to focus on. And that's kind of what I like to tell people. If you make your workouts about performance improvement, getting stronger, increasing your endurance, things that are very measurable that you can track, if you do that consistently, well, then the results like looking better, losing weight can simply be side effects. And that's how I prefer to go about things.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm so happy that I get to ask you some questions about strength training because I know it's so important for women, particularly women over 50, to strength train. And I've been going to the gym for a long time, but in many respects, I still feel like a newbie when it comes to strength training. So I was going to ask a series of questions that are particularly more inclined for someone who has not done a lot of strength training. Is it okay to just work out with dumbbells, or do you recommend women go straight to the bars?
Well, I mean, wherever somebody is comfortable starting, whatever they will actually get in the gym and do, that's where I want them to start. If somebody is too intimidated to start with a barbell, absolutely start with dumbbells, start with machines even. I don't care. Anything that's going to actually get you in there and get started, that's the best thing for you. Now, somebody else may say, yeah, I've played around with dumbbells. I'm ready to grab a barbell and go. Absolutely. It's just everybody has their own individual starting point, and everybody needs to start from that rather than trying to force something. Because, I mean, if somebody is really intimidated to lift any kind of weights, they have no experience with it, and somebody tells them, no, you have to start with a barbell squat, you have to start with a barbell deadlift. And if they get in there and it just feels like a crap show and they hate it and nothing feels right, they're just going to feel discouraged and possibly not come back. Yeah. So, if somebody's more comfortable with dumbbells, that's definitely where they should start.
Yeah. And do you recommend that people hire a trainer before they start?
It's really individual. I mean, there's so many people that are just kind of self-taught, and they'll, buy courses or my book, like Lift Like a Girl, and teach themselves based on pictures and exercise explanations. But then again, some people, it is a lot easier to shorten the learning curve if they have a coach. Is it helpful? Yes. Is it mandatory? No.
Gotcha. I know when I first started to lift, I would feel sore, which I think is natural. But how do you know when it's really too much?
Yeah, I tell people if it's going to affect your daily life, I mean, if you can't get up your stairs without it being excruciating pain, or if you cannot get off the toilet, it is too much. But again, this will kind of come back to some of my recommendations for somebody that is truly new to training, is I encourage them to start with just a couple of, if people know the terminology, sets and reps. Like a set is a combination of reps. If I say do one set of 10 repetitions, you take a given weight and do 10 reps with it. That's 8, a single set. And so I might tell somebody that's starting out, just start out with one set. Just take the time to learn that movement, to be able to execute it correctly, to feel what you're doing, and then move on to another exercise. Do like a lower body exercise, an upper body push, and an upper body pull for 1, maybe 2 sets. And as long as you're not too sore the next day, it's okay, and you can build on your volume from there. But I always tell people, especially if you're the kind of person that doesn't like being sore, some people detest that feeling. There's nothing wrong with easing in and doing just a single set or maybe 2 at first, just to get acclimated to the activity.
Yeah, that's good. And what about when you are weaker on one side than the other? My left side, I know, is not as strong. And sometimes I think, maybe I should use a lighter weight on my right side because my right arm's much stronger, and then try to use a heavier weight on my left side. Or is that like opposite? Or should I use the same weight on both sides? Like I'm talking about dumbbells primarily.
Well, the good news is that, we're not completely symmetrical creatures. None of us are.
I know
everybody is going, everybody's going to have a dominant limb on their leg, on their upper body. And I mean, I still have strength imbalances. My right leg is always stronger than my left. Doesn't matter what I do. It just, it is what it is. Just like with arms, if you're left-handed, left arm's going to be stronger and vice versa. So, at first, somebody that's new to strength training, these imbalances are going to be much more pronounced simply because they're new to the activity. They're learning movements and motor patterns they're unaccustomed to. So, yeah, doing something like a shoulder press, one arm is going to be noticeably stronger than the other. But the really cool thing is that it will smooth out and that difference will get smaller over just a few weeks. Actually, people can see the difference. But I tell people use the same weight. Like if you're starting to do a dumbbell shoulder press with 5-pound dumbbells, use 5-pound dumbbells for both arms. Just focus on being able to do more reps across the workouts over a few weeks. And usually you will see that imbalance minimize. It's never going to go completely away. You're always going to have a stronger limb, and that's totally normal and fine. But no, unless there's some kind of a like physical limitation or some kind of a, if you're just getting over some kind of rehab or surgery or something, then yeah, you obviously talk to your physical therapist about that, not me. But, just for the most part, for normal training, it's normal, and just use the same weights, and that difference should minimize.
Good. Well, I was kind of hoping you would say that. Then I had one more question. My friends at the gym, many of them use that Smith machine that is kind of a stabilized machine, which seems like it might be safer. Or is that cheating? Recommend to use that at first, or kind of stay away from that? If you would have asked me this question over a decade ago, my answer would have been different. Thankfully, I've gotten wiser and learned a lot since then. But again, it comes back to people doing what they're comfortable with. Some people are simply not comfortable doing a barbell squat with just a regular barbell on their back. They just feel too uneasy. They feel like they're going to fall over. And if you're too nervous and scared about doing something, you're not going to do it well, and you're not going to be confident doing it. So I say if you are much more comfortable learning how to do a squat in a Smith machine, do the squat in the Smith machine. I mean, it's not like there's going to be you get greater balance and stability from a free weight barbell squat, but it's nothing drastically huge. I always want people, again, to start where they're comfortable. If that means using the Smith machine for a bench press, for a squat, that's where you should start. Good. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Not everyone's, I often will hear people, especially some of the people at the gym, say, don't ever use a Smith machine. So
yeah, I've heard it both ways, and I was really eager to find out what you would say.
Well, like I said, I've said it before too, because I was like, no, a free weight squat is so much better for you. And like I realized that's just not right. There are even studies that show, differences in muscle building and stuff are very minimal. And finally I wised up and said, no, you have to meet people where they are. And if you want people to adopt strength training as a lifelong activity, it needs to be something they're comfortable executing.
Okay. So I have a couple of questions about specific exercises. So when I do squats, I struggle with them because I struggle with getting low enough, basically. So it doesn't matter whether I'm doing just a plain old body squat or a goblet squat or whatever, or if I put a bar to it. How does anyone work on improving a squat?
Well, the first thing is making sure they know the main cues that they need to be following to execute the squat efficiently. So some people, when they squat, what they do is they stick their butt back because they think their shins need to be perpendicular to the ground. They think it's bad if their knees go forward. And so, that's just not going to put them in the most efficient position. It's okay to think, instead of sticking your butt back to squat down, it's okay if you think more about letting your butt go down to the ground, as long as your feet stay nice and flat on the ground. You don't want your heels coming up. You don't want your toes to come up. So it might just be a simple issue in kind of modifying the movement itself. But then again, sometimes it's really about just doing a much more efficient warm up. And I have this on my website, and it's something I go over with clients with a lot. I can go into a squat, full range of motion from the first rep of a warm up, no problem. Not everybody can do that. And so one way to kind of ease into that is to do an extended warm up. Something like if you have a suspension trainer to hold on to, like with your arms stretched out in front of you, you can simply hang on to that. Or if you don't have that, like hold on to a power rack or just anything sturdy, and then just really slowly descend into the squat, focus on the movement, come back up, and you're just using your arms for assistance. And so if you do that for 10 to 15 reps, wait a minute or two, and then do it again, you should see that your depth improves, the movement improves, it just starts to feel a lot better. And then you can go into the regular workout, whether it's your goblet squat you're saying or a barbell squat. But sometimes it's just about doing that very specific warm-up to where your body and its joints and your muscles and everything are getting used to the activity, getting warmed up, working on that mobility if necessary, and just kind of greasing that groove. So it's usually one of those two things, either just kind of refining your technique to hitting those appropriate, more efficient cues, or again, just really extending that warm up.
I like that. Thank you. That's good. And I also saw on your website that you said we should all be doing deadlifts, which I like because deadlifts are one of my favorite things to do at the gym. But why should we be doing them? And do you have any advice on how to improve that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the reason everybody should deadlift is because at some point, at least once a week, I would assume, you're going to pick something up off the floor. So
right.
It's one of the most functional, some people are like, oh, deadlifts are bad for your back. I'm like, well, you pick stuff up off the floor all the time. Or if you're out doing yard work, playing with your kids, you're going to pick stuff up off the ground. It's not inherently dangerous. Why not go ahead and strengthen that movement pattern so you can apply it to real life and make those daily tasks like picking a kid up or other things much easier? That's why everybody should deadlift. It's just super functional, just like a squatting pattern is super functional. We all sit down on the toilet, stand back up. It's functional. So
that's true.
But as far as where to start, again, there's tons of tools that people can use depending on what makes them the most comfortable. Like one of the easiest variations to start with is a kettlebell deadlift. To a lot of people, that's much less intimidating than a barbell deadlift.
Right.
But again, if something somebody's unfamiliar with, I suggest using a very lightweight, learning the correct execution. I mean, most people actually kind of mess up a deadlift before they even pull the bar off the ground. And by that, I mean, they'll have the bar over their toes or just way out in front of them. And you actually want the bar much, much closer to your body. It's going to be like an inch away from your shin or just over the middle of your foot. And that just makes the movement much more efficient because you want the bar to travel in the most efficient path, which is kind of going in a vertical line up along the midfoot of your body. Because a lot of people say, oh, deadlifting hurts my back. But when I watch them deadlift, it's because they have the bar or the dumbbells way out in front of their feet. And so what that's doing is just putting a lot of stress on your lower back rather than it being in the more efficient position of having it much closer to you. So I would just encourage people, take the time to learn the proper, most efficient technique, and you can use whatever modality you're most comfortable with at that start.
What role do you see for cardio in being fit? What do you recommend to your clients?
Yeah, usually I just tell people to do what they enjoy. I mean, if they have activities that they already currently do that they enjoy doing, keep doing those. I have a lot of clients that enjoy biking or going on walks. That's awesome. But I definitely encourage people to at least hit those minimum activity guidelines for health, which usually comes out to doing at least 30 minutes of some type of activity every day. I mean, it's important for our cardiovascular health. It's something we all need to do. Movement is always a good thing. So getting it in however you can in whatever ways you prefer is important. And I always like to remind people, it's not like you have to do it all in 30 minutes. You can do 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. And sure, it can be on a piece of cardio equipment if that's what you like, or it can be going outside and walking, gardening, recreational activities. Some people like to just use those step tracker things on their phones or whatever.
Right.
That's also great. Like if you want to work towards hitting 7,000 steps a day. I mean, any of these things are great. So yes, I think cardio is very important. I don't think there's one perfect or preferred method. Again, just like strength training, there's tons of different tools of the trade. And you need to select the ones that either you enjoy the most or that you can adhere to doing consistently, whether that's, again, walking, or if you're the kind of person that you need that structure, you need to get on a piece of cardio equipment. If that's what's going to make you get it done, then kind of make sure you know your needs and execute it accordingly.
When you have people who work with you, so obviously you're working with them online, virtually. How do you help people with things like form?
Yeah, they simply will record a video and upload it, and I'll check it out.
Oh, okay. So if one of your clients said, I need help with my deadlift, you'd have them record themselves doing it, and then you'd say, you've got the barbell too far out.
Yes. I mean, some people we can talk through, but it's always so much easier for me to be able to see what's going on rather than saying, yeah, this doesn't feel right. I mean, I can make some most common suggestions, which is usually like that bar placement. But yeah, usually I love being able to see what somebody's doing. That way I can go, oh, this is all we need to fix, or this is what we need to adjust.
That makes sense. That does. I'm thinking when I was working on my skiing, that was something that we would do. And I found just seeing the video of myself, it was really an eye opener because you think you're far back or you think you're doing something. Oh, yeah, I'm doing it great. And then you see, no, I'm not doing it great. But my next question has to do with goals. A lot of us focus on wanting to hit a certain weight or fix a certain part of our body. But I think there's a lot more to training about that. And I was wondering if you can talk about goals with training. What do you suggest?
I mean, if somebody has a goal already set that they would love to do, some people are dead set on being able to do a body weight chin up. That's an awesome goal to have. And then you structure your training for it. Maybe somebody wants to do a traditional push-up so they can escape the girl push-ups we alluded to earlier, which I said it's a modified push-up, and those are still awesome. It really just depends on what somebody says, hey, I'd like to be able to do this. If they do have something like that they can have as a goal from the outset, all the better. But, somebody that's new to strength training may not know what's a goal worth setting. So instead, they may need to focus on saying something like, I'm going to do 3 workouts a week. And over the next 6 months, they want to have like a 90% adherence rate to that. They want to make sure they do at least 90% of the workouts, 3 workouts a week for the next 6 months. I mean, those are really good goals to have too, because again, you're not going to get any kind of results. You're not going to achieve any goals if you don't have a plan and if you're not consistent. And again, I know my answer to a lot of these questions is the same, but it's very individualistic. I mean, everybody has different backgrounds. Somebody might be coming off of a recent injury or a health issue, and they're ready to start taking care of themselves. They're going to have a different starting point. They're going to have different targets. But that's the really beautiful thing about strength training and cardio work is you get to tailor it to yourself and the things that are important to you. And these things can change over time. As an example, I have worked with women in their 50s who said, I want to deadlift. I'm nervous about it, but I'd like to try it. And then they try it, and over a couple months, they get more confident with it, and they go, oh, my gosh, you know what I'd love to be able to do? I want to deadlift 1.5 times my body weight. That's my goal. Sometimes they'll just kind of get bit by that goal once they actually get into the process itself. That's when I go, I didn't know I could do this. I want to see what else I can do. This is what I want to achieve. So sometimes it's best just to get in there and get going, and then you'll kind of discover those things along the way.
That's great. So I was thinking about short and long-term goals. So if you said, I want to do the chin up, then I guess you set some shorter term goals of what you might do before you get to that.
Yeah. I mean, so somebody that's never done them before, they got to find their starting point. They may need to start either with using something like an assisted pull-up machine at a gym.
Right.
For some people, that's way too wonky to start with. They're not comfortable doing that. They may need to start with a cable pull down instead, where you sit and you have the bar stretched out over top and you pull it down. They may need to start with that and focus on building their strength up with that over the next several weeks, and just focus on adding reps and then increasing the weight and noticeably getting stronger on that. So that would be a good short-term goal. And then next I could say, well, now I'm going to transition to that assisted pull-up machine, and then set some goals with that. They may have to start out using 100 pounds of assistance to help counter their body weight for the assisted pull-up machine. And they can say, I want to get to where I'm doing 5 reps with only 60 pounds assisting me. These are measurable goals that you can track, that you can work toward. And then, eventually you'll be able to transition to doing things like assisted body weight pull-ups, like using a resistance band for assistance or something of that nature, to where you're getting closer to that major goal of doing a chin-up. But it's really just about having these smaller wins that are still crucial, but that you can collect like a bunch of them on the way, because if all you think is the only thing that matters is a body weight chin up, and, somebody may be closer to it than somebody else. One person may be, 3 months away from it, but for somebody else, that may take a year, maybe 2 of really dedicated training to hit. So if you're the person that it's realistically going to be like a 2-year goal, you can't just have that be the only thing that matters for 2 entire years. You're going to be discouraged. You need to have something
right.
along the way that you go, oh no, I can do this. This is great. I got this. Let's move on to the next little thing. So that way along the way, you're collecting all these small wins that keep you motivated, keep you excited. They prove to you that yes, you can do this. You are capable, and they make you want to keep going toward that big major goal.
Yeah, I can really relate to that because for a while I was trying to do, I was calling it a pull up, but I think it's really a chin up using bands and things like that. And it definitely helps when you write it down and have a measurable goal, like you said.
So that's one of the things, and what you keep saying is about progressing is that you really do have to keep track then of what you're lifting or what your reps are. You need to keep track of what you're doing.
Yeah, I do. I tell people to make sure they keep a training log, whether it's on their phone or just pen and paper, because how are you going to know how you're doing if you're not really writing it down? You can't rely on memory so much because
right.
I always kind of tell people, especially beginners, try to do a little better than last time. Well, if you don't know what you did last time, how do you know if it's going to be any better today or not?
I'm sure I was better.
I went to the gym and I picked up some weights. No, well, that gets to, there's a lot of information on the internet about working out with strength training. And how do we know what's a reasonable workout for getting started with strength training? And what is something that we should avoid, as women over 50?
Kind of the thing I would tell people is just start with a more basic, kind of simplified program, something that just works on some major movement patterns. So you get to work the majority, if not every single muscle in your body. So something like one of my go-to beginner programs in Lift Like a Girl and on my website and everything, it's learning a squatting movement first. And I usually pick the goblet squat where you hold a dumbbell or a kettlebell against your chest under your chin, simply because most people can learn that very quickly from the first time they do it. And it's a lot less intimidating than having a barbell across your back, right?
Right.
So I'll teach people that squatting pattern, and then we'll do either like a modified push-up. And this is actually when I really do love the Smith machine because you can elevate that bar so you're lifting a lower percentage of your body weight. And that is amazing for push-ups. So somebody might need to start with a bar fairly high, but as they get stronger, they can lower that bar down to where they're lifting a greater percentage of their body weight. So that would be like an upper body push. And then an upper body pull could either be an inverted row, which I kind of tell people think of it as a reverse push-up, or instead of pushing your body away from the bar, you could use that same bar on the Smith machine and you're pulling your body up to it. So those are three basic movement patterns, but you're going to work your legs, you're going to work your upper body, front and back. And it's kind of like I tell people, if I gave you a list of 10 exercises, here's your first workout ever, you have 10 exercises, go learn all 10 from day one. I mean, that could be kind of intimidating, but if I say, well, here are 3 big compound exercises that are going to hit every muscle in your body, go do these 3, take your time learning them. The 3 exercise setup is going to be way less intimidating. And especially if you pick exercises that are pretty quick to learn, which is what I like to do with beginners especially, you're going to be able to have success from day one and feel really good about yourself. I mean, it's kind of the difference between saying, I'm going to teach you a goblet squat, or, hey, I'm going to teach you an Olympic lift. We're going to learn how to do snatches today. I mean, those are incredibly complex. That stuff takes a ton of amount of training. You know what I mean? It's just really about setting yourself up for success from the beginning. And that's what I think beginners need to focus on. Just pick a few movement patterns that will work every muscle in your body. Pick some of the more beginner-friendly ones. Start from there and start building your confidence.
Okay, because there are you can see a lot of strange things people recommend you do. So that's probably good advice.
Yeah, like box jumps and no, don't. I mean, I don't have anybody do box jumps. I like to look at things from a risk versus reward mentality.
Right.
Sure, you can get a good workout doing box jumps, but we've all seen videos of people beefing it really bad. So unless you're an athlete and you need to do those for your sport, I don't have anybody do stuff like that. I'd much rather people be safe. And, there's plenty of other exercises you can choose for your legs rather than jumping a box.
Yeah. All it takes is one misstep and you're down.
Oh, it does. And I don't want to be the coach responsible for it, though.
Right. Yeah. So how often should we be strength training?
Again, it really just depends on, some people, if all they can commit is 2 times to working out a week, that's where I tell them to start. Something is always better than nothing. 2 workouts a week is better than 0. And usually for most people, though, my go-to is 3 times per week. And especially for beginners, it's 3 total body workouts a week. That way you get that exposure. You learn the movements quicker because you're exposed to them more frequently. And it just seems to be a really good frequency to where you can get sufficient results in a more appropriate period of time.
What about food? How do you recommend women eat? That's a big one, right?
That is. And, I can only operate kind of within the basic areas because I'm not a registered dietitian, but I do have articles where I give much greater examples about this. It'd probably take like 30 minutes to talk about here, but I really want people to think more about simplifying nutrition. And I always tell people the ultimate goal should be to spend as little time thinking about food as necessary. And a good way to get there is to focus on building sustainable habits. And again, everybody's going to have different starting points. Somebody that eats fast food for most of their meals is going to have a different starting point from somebody that already cooks at home. So it's about kind of working from wherever you are and finding ways to make progress from where you are. But you can't really go wrong with focusing on getting sufficient lean protein, getting enough fiber, eating fruits and vegetables regularly, kind of the simple, boring stuff, but it's that boring stuff that builds that foundation. And hopefully with enough practice and enough adherence, it's something that becomes just ingrained habits to where people don't have to spend as much time thinking about it. But again, it's going to vary because some people, they might need to start out counting calories to get an understanding of how things work. But some other people like myself, I don't count calories because if I do, it'll tailspin me very quickly back into disordered eating habits where I was really obsessive with everything I did. So I'm the kind of person, I just focus on habits. I know what I need to do most of the time, and that's what I do. And then there's other times I know it's perfectly fine. Like I enjoy baking and stuff. And so I'll enjoy some of that stuff on occasion in reasonable amounts. And I'm not guilty for eating it. I don't feel bad about eating it. I don't do an extra hard workout before or after eating it because I know I have this solid foundation and the things that I'm doing the majority of the time are the things that are going to determine the majority of the health effects I do get from those habits. So again, it's kind of just each person really might have to experiment or, ask themselves what's more realistic for me? Where do I need to start? And then kind of take it from there. But like I said, I do have an article where I think it's called The Simple Guide to How to Eat Healthy or something. It's on the starter page of my website, but I do give visual examples and kind of tease some of the stuff out a little more. But I would still tell people to try to focus on building sustainable habits.
Thanks. That's good. Yeah.
I know that sometimes the tracking of food is shocking when you see how much you think I'll say that. Oh, I'm whatever. And then I log my food and I say, oh my goodness, that's a lot more food than I was thinking about.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good tip too, is that, something I will have some people start out with is saying rather than starting a diet or something for a whole week, I'll tell them write down, not the calorie count or anything, just write down everything you eat or drink throughout the day for a week. If you grab a handful of M&Ms at work, that goes on the list. Like every little thing you eat or drink, took a bite of a donut here or there, write it down, because I've worked with a lot of people that say, oh, I don't eat much. I make really good choices. Nothing's happening. They log everything. And then over the week they go, oh crap. Yeah. So I was eating my kids' candy or I was snacking on this. And, I just forgot about that stuff, but it just kind of helps them see, because if it's on paper, if you have that data, it just makes things much more realistic. And for some people, they're able to make changes simply off of that, saying, I'm going to make sure I'm not snacking so much, or I'm going to eat a more filling breakfast so I'm not tempted to snack on the donuts at work or whatever. So that can actually be a really helpful exercise as long as it's done without that punishment or guilt mentality. And that's something I encourage people. Don't look at it and go, oh my God, I can't believe I was doing this. It's not about that. It's just about saying, hey, this is where I am. This is what's going on. What can I do to improve from here?
Right. What about protein? Do we have to eat protein within 45 minutes of working out?
No, thankfully, that used to be a big thing probably about a decade ago.
Yeah.
But research has shown that it's more about getting it within a 24-hour period rather than getting it you have to eat it now or you're going to miss that opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
Thankfully,
I have a friend who's like, I have to get home and eat my egg whites or it's going to totally destroy the purpose of doing this workout.
No, thankfully, it doesn't work like that. So, no, it's as long as you get, the necessary nutrition kind of within that 24-hour window, I mean, ideally a few hours would, I'm sure, be better. Like 4 hours would be better than waiting to eat 12 hours later.
Right.
But no, like for the most part, no. Nothing to obsess about. You don't have to slam a shake or something right after you put down the weight. No.
But good. I've wondered about that.
Well, if our listeners wanted to follow you or get more information about strength training, where can they find you?
Definitely my website is the place to go at niashanks.com. Liftlikeagirl.com will take you to the same spot too.
Great.
And your 2 books, Lift Like a Girl and
100-Day Reclaim.
I assume those are available Amazon?
Yep, those are on Amazon, paperback and Kindle format.
Excellent.
Okay, great.
That's great. We'll make sure we'll link to all of that in our show notes.
Okay. And are you on Facebook, Instagram, any of those things?
Yep, Facebook and Instagram, a little bit of YouTube.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you for talking with us today. It's been really helpful.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, Nia. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, what a delight. Nia sure gave us a lot of information today.
Yeah, she sure did. You know, it's a little thing, but I really liked her advice about how to get the full range of motion in a squat. I don't know why, but I really struggle with that. So I think I'm going to do some warm-up squats with the TRX bands the next time I do them.
Yes. And I loved how she said that it's actually not cheating to use the Smith machine, because I'm one of those people that feel a little more comfortable at first, you know, having the added, benefits of a Smith machine or even the regular machines. She talked about doing those as well.
Right. And, you know, I do know people who are adamant, like, oh, you should never touch a Smith machine, blah, blah, blah. But
right.
I think that was good advice. You do what you're comfortable with.
Yeah. So that was cool.
Yeah. And, you know, her food advice was pretty simple and to the point, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad to hear that I don't have to chug a protein shake every time I work out.
Yeah. And speaking of food, I want to remind our listeners that we're doing the 2021 Veggie Challenge. So feel free to participate in that with us.
Oh, right. Let us know about your strength training or about getting more vegetables into your day at our website or on any of our social media accounts. If you're looking for an online community, be sure to follow us on our Facebook page and then join our private Facebook group where we encourage and support each other.
Definitely. You can find us at becomingellie.com or at our Facebook page. And we're also on Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest.
When you go to the website, don't forget to sign up for our email list so you don't miss any of our articles or podcasts. You can sign up at becomingellie.com. That way, if you decide to drop off the social media scene for a while, you'll still know what's going on.
I can't wait to try some of Nia's advice at my next workout.
Same here. And I'm looking forward to our next episode of the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast.
See you next time.
Yep. Bye.
Bye-bye.